it's a myth that that prisons are full of people who are incarcerated because they got caught using marijuana. That's not true at all. But there are.
Right before she died of a drug overdose, I had no idea she was taking drugs.
It gets you addicted. I mean, I started out like any drug, just doing it once a week. Then it became twice a week. Then it became almost every night, smoking a little bit. Then it became waking up with it, doing it all day long.
I didn't get to see my daughter, but her dad did.
He was a heroin addict. He, had struggled with heroin for a long time, but he had been clean for a year.
I'm just thinking to myself, like, God, why? Why did you drive?
I looked to the left, and I saw like this white truck, and I couldn't see now. I said, I go, oh, Jesus, like that, and it hit us.
You will be convicted of a felony if you're caught selling this stuff.
And what you don't really realize is you're putting your life in danger and everybody else around you in danger, and it's just not worth it.
It was 8 minutes from the time the officer left, and that my daughter was killed.
Broke my back at T12, severed my spinal cord, had a punctured lung, a torn diaphragm, and several broken ribs, and that's what left me paralyzed at the waist, and he got a speeding ticket. That's it.
Hello, folks. Thank you for joining us. I see we have about 20 people with us here. Thank you for being here. We haven't been on in a while, so I wanted to come on, spend a little time live with you guys. We also have a sneak preview kind of 5-minute segment to share with you guys. And I just figured we'd have a visit for a while. So thank you all for being here. Kimberly, where have we met? Have I responded to some of your comments on stories? Why is your name familiar to me? Hello, Sylvia. Thank you for being here. Prayers for all who are suffering and struggling with addiction. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, we've had a lot going on over the last week, so we haven't been able to publish as many stories as normally we would. But we've been busy at work on more stories about fentanyl poisoning. Soon we'll be publishing a 2-part story about. Soon we'll be publishing a 2-part story about a story about domestic violence that is, I don't know, it feels like impactful is the wrong kind of word to use, but it is a powerful story. And we also have more stories about fentanyl poisoning. We spent several days in Portsmouth, Virginia, recording stories, and we spent we were right now the top stories that we're working on are stories that we recorded in Wichita, Kansas, a few weeks ago. Hi, Cindy. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you joining us. So we have, and we've been publishing the cannabis induced psychosis series, which has been getting a lot of attention, a lot of a lot of fire. It's been drawing a lot of criticism. Not real sure. Typically, the criticism is broad and vague, and light on facts, and that's awesome. We're certainly open to hearing from everyone. We do have a segment to share with you guys in just a little while from our cannabis induced psychosis series, from an interview that we shot yesterday. An interview with a physician from College Station, Texas, who has some insightful comments to share. And so we thought we would put together something short just to have something to share with you guys here before we put together the whole story and publish it. So this segment that we have for you guys is still 5 minutes long, so that's a little long for a short segment, but it's very interesting, and we will cue that up as soon as we get. I feel like just get a few more viewers join us, and we will cue that up. So what we've got right. Hello, Brooke. Thank you for being here. Glad you're here. And I like the doctors you had on the other day. Yeah, Dr. Finn and Aubrey Adams. We also published a story with a emergency room physician. Her name was Karen Randall, and she had some great insight. This doctor, his name is Matt Poling, and Matt is a family practitioner and has a lot of insight about cannabis because his son is struggling with it. So he has. The cannabis story I watched was touching. Yes, was that the Javante Hill or maybe Bren Spetcher? William Bailey, Bill Bailey, Knoxville, Tennessee. We have interviewed law enforcement officers in Knoxville. 2 of them, I believe. Drugs and addiction do not discriminate. Absolutely right. They do not. They know no economic status, blue collar, white collar, whatever. The doctor storyline. Got you. So you tell me. Are you seeing in the chat? Are you seeing this crown looking icon with a number 1 beside it on Kimberly, and a number 2 beside it on William Bailey? Yes, yeah, that was what that's the. Oh, won't you come home, Bill Bailey? Won't you come home? Yeah, that's what popped into my head when I saw your screen name. So I am just trying to organize here a little bit. Well, we hope that we get more people to join us. I I feel like there has been quite a bizarre reaction to the cannabis series that we're just starting on. We have a ton of yes. Yeah, okay. So what is what does that little icon mean? Top fan. Okay. I understand. I understand. It's new. It hasn't been showing up before, and so I don't. Hello, Alejandra Zell. Did I get an email from you? I don't know. Maybe, or did I interview you, or did I see? I don't know if you guys saw some of the posts in the community section on our channel, but I was at an event at the White House a few days ago, which was interesting for sure. Quite an interesting experience. Yeah, yeah. I think I kind of got it figured out, Brooke. Why do people lace pot for? I think when it happens because it's a way to be more competitive, a way to have a product that delivers more of what the buyer is looking for. And then there is also the issue with pot becoming stronger and stronger in terms of THC content. Hello, Cookie Mo, Mr. Anne Marie. We'll just go with Anne Marie. How about we do that? Thank you for joining us, Anne Marie. Did I see the Epstein files? No, didn't even really think there would be any point in asking for it. What is pot laced with? Pot can be laced with all kinds of things. However, pot is also not what pot used to be. This is not Woodstock pot anymore, is the way the doctor we spoke to yesterday put it. THC in marijuana, in vapes, in gummies, the concentration, the potency is so much higher than it used to be. That where back when 20, 30 years ago, concentration of THC was around 2, 3, 4, 5%. And now there's a lot of products out there where the concentration is more like 30, 40%. There's some vape products that go up to over 90%, which is insanely strong. Kimberly says this plague of marijuana scares her, and for good reason. It is not what it used to be. And now there is real money in it. Now there is businesses that are profiting in a gigantic way from same thing with vape. Yes, Sylvia, the vapes that contain THC are frightfully powerful. And the danger that comes from that is substantial. The impact that, and as it becomes more common. There's about half the states now have it legal in some form. Just graduated rehab from Hope of East Tennessee. Hot dog, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, straight out of rehab, did you go into sober living, or are you on your own, back with family? What's happening now, William? I've had a lot of violent crime charges, but mostly mentally diagnosed problems. I'm receiving help from the FACTS program. I don't know about the FACTS program. That doesn't ring any bells with me. That doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it's true, but our children don't need to get a hold of it, destroying their lives. Absolutely. The damage that THC can do to a developing mind is more substantial than what it can do to an adult mind, for sure. That with a developing mind, there is extra risks that can result in uh, uh, schizophrenia. It's crazy. Todd, did you expect the level of pushback from the weed smokers in the comments of the cannabis-induced psychosis video? Did I expect it? Yeah, I did. 100%. But still, some have been surprising. Some, the pushback, the negative comments, the defending cannabis comments, some of them have been kind of crazy. Maybe, just maybe, I can share something with you guys. We're gonna try it. When with the first couple of stories in this cannabis series, we promoted them pretty substantially on Facebook, because we wanted to see we wanted to see how they would be received. Oh, this is going to do something, isn't it? So we'll see what we can do here. I'm going to try to make it happen here, and let you guys hear a few of the messages that we received from people. Let's see. There was there's a one commenter. His name is Gene. He sent us many messages that were extremely long. The catch is that the messages have the messages clearly came from Chat GPT. That this commenter was using chat to write his messages. Let's see. Wow. Okay. So I believe I can make that desktop audio. Maybe that would. I'm trying to figure out how to. No. But some of these comments, you guys, just bear with me. Some of these comments are absolutely. They're fascinating. We'll go with that. We'll call them fascinating, and we'll try to make them work if I can Can I do that? Oh, I'm trying to sort out how to. No, that's the way right there. Now. All right. I'll try it again.
It's a medicinal plant, all because they want to sell you opioids or get you addicted to industrial products. Cannabis is a medicinal herb, not a drug or a chemical that makes you dumb. Cannabis doesn't have a blanket term. It has medicinal alkaloids, terpenes, flavonoids, polyphenols, DNA, and RNA, which are influenced by its symbiotic patterns in polycultural systems.
Okay.
Cannabis and hemp grown in reverence with pungency and diversity of medicinal alkaloids like THC,
Grown in
terpenes,
reverence.
flavonoids, polyphenols, DNA and RNA, and other medicinal phytocannabinoids. Benefits our health, binds to natural receptors.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So I invited this guy to do a interview and he declined. But I thought it would have been good. I'm trying to see if there's any more. And he sent me a graphic that says marijuana kills pain, opioids kill people. That does sound like an AI voice. Kimberly asked what happened if a public bus driver is smoking pot behind the wheel. There's already laws about driving while impaired. And so those laws would apply. They don't just apply to alcohol. They apply to any kind of drug, any kind of impairment. There are people who have been charged with DWI for driving under the influence of prescription medication, but not following the instruction. Some prescription medication will say on the label, don't operate heavy machinery. And holy cow, a vehicle is heavy machinery. So yeah, there's already laws that are supposed to prevent that. But it doesn't always work out that way. So let me share some other comments with you guys. Eventually what happens is they give up. Don't message me again. Here's after an exchange and someone saying they're willing to be interviewed on the camera on our channel, but that they needed to see all the questions in advance. A couple of things. First, we don't do that. No credible journalist does that. That's just a no-no. Aside from that, how could we even predict what kind of questions we get from a live event? There's no way to do that. So after I said we won't do that, this person's response was, don't message me again. Nazis, Nazis, Nazis. I came here only to say you're all Nazis. It's you who offered to interview me, Republican Nazis. But it's better when you can. I'll let you guys hear this person's voice in a moment here. Whoops, I believe. All right, all right. Well, I'm gonna hope that it's not too harsh.
Explain to me how you've done 500 interviews and I'm the first person to even request it. Oh my God, you're not suited for this. When you literally just asked me if I wanted to do an interview with Nazis.
That's a good one.
Yes, hello, Nazis, Republican pedophiles of Texas. Please tell me all about how you've done 500 interviews, but I'm not suited for this when you asked me for an interview.
Yeah, like I said, that we're not going to give you questions in advance. What else did she say?
Yes, hi, Texas Pictures. Please tell me how I'm not suited for an interview when you... So wait a minute, let me get this straight. Texas Pictures Nazi pedophiles asked me for an interview.
Now we're pedophiles.
And then I said what my rules were, and then it said that I'm not suited for It's almost like you guys in America are Republican pedophile Nazis and you built an entire world around humiliation, destruction, carvation, dead bodies, dead.
Yeah. So that's.
No, but please, let's talk about how you guys are so holier than thou with your God MAGA mega churches and your Scientology and your pedophilia.
Mega churches and Scientology and pedophilia. So yeah, that was different. There is, I'm guessing 20 or 30 more recorded messages. And I don't know. I don't understand the whole. I don't understand that whole thing, but we got a lot of comments, kind of like that. Hi, April. That was someone who commented on our cannabis-induced psychosis series. Who we have quite a few. Let me see what else I can find.
You guys are fucking stupid.
Okay, well. See, there you go. No one will fall for your propaganda. So there's that. And so, of course, I asked this person if he'd like to be interviewed. And no response. Then what else is? So yeah, it really drew a lot of comments. I read all I needed to. It's false information. If you're going to post about it, get all your facts straight instead of trying to scare everyone into believing some off-the-wall BS. That is all. So these are the kinds of cannabis defending comments we tend to get, and the same thing happens on our channel. That when people comment on the stories, we have a lot of stories to post. We have a lot to edit, and when I say a lot, there's probably 30, 35. Yeah, it's good to see you here, April. So if I missed any comments in the course of going through some of the messages that I got on Facebook, please, if there was a question I missed, please ask it again, rather than me trying to scan back through everything. But I thought it was interesting that poster, the person who left all the voice message, that person's name is Blake Thompson. Feel free to look him up if you like. What else do we have here? Okay, someone else just said we're clowns. I'm glad you're doing good. April, did I get a message from you? Let's see. There's not much else. That the the cannabis defending comments that are in the series. Here's some things that here's some things that I've noticed about the comments. The poppy seeds back in the days. Yes, I did. I do remember something about poppy seeds, and I don't remember details, but I remember references to them. Anyway, so here's the things that I've noticed about the cannabis defending comments. They are much more likely to contain misspelled words, and they're also much more likely to have some grammatical error. Not that that's a substantial thing, but when it keeps happening over and over, like the misspelled word thing, sometimes speech to text will get a word wrong. This isn't that. It is, I would guess, that no, I wouldn't guess. I don't think I'm going to guess. But some of the misspelled comments could certainly be speech to text, or some of that anticipation writing feature that happens. But this happens. It is way too predictable that if there is comments. I noticed the weed series was crazy comments directed at you, going, yeah, it'll be okay. I'm not too concerned. I feel like it's great. It's great that people are watching, even if they don't buy it. It is a series. There'll be at least 30 more stories just in what we've shot so far, and we're going to continue to shoot the stories. When we do a storytelling summit, we have storytellers that talk about fentanyl, and they talk about addiction recovery and human trafficking, domestic violence. Cannabis is in the list too, and so we will continue to do this as we learn. And that's the thing. There is it's all about learning. And so when someone makes a comment on a story that is that's critical or mean towards us, it still means that they watched the story, and if they don't agree with it, that's their choice, and we're okay with that. What is it about this marijuana and fentanyl? Well, we are working on finding some substantial, credible answers about marijuana laced with fentanyl. And it's been a challenge for a while. We actually interviewed a DEA agent who talked about it and then later said we couldn't use the interview. So we didn't. Jay Bell, so what am I? Oh, yes. Yes, Carlo, we have T-shirts and coffee mugs and other stuff in our store. Thank you for asking. And thank you for being here. So let me see where we're at here. And what have I missed? Have I missed questions? Is there anything? Cindy says that's all crazy. You want an interview? There are no world rules. It's honest, brutally honest conversation between two people who are addressing a topic of discussion. Honesty versus honesty. that's how our interviews work. I believe that there is a few of our storytellers in the chat right now. They can tell you what the interviews are like. Typically, our interviews are not aggressive. We're not trying to have some sort of aha moment. We're just trying to understand the person's perspective, and in most cases, trying to learn about the person's experience. So we have this 5-minute segment, and I'm gonna put it on in a moment here. It's an interview with a doctor, and it barely qualifies as an interview. He kind of just, once he got the chance, he just kind of took off with what he knew and had had some great insight about cannabis and THC and all of that. And so I'm gonna start that in a moment here. I'm gonna into that distraction up there. Fentanyl scares me too. It is very scary, and it is it's starting to get a little bit more attention in government. That I mentioned a little while ago. We're at the White House this week. Carla was there. I don't know if anyone else in the room was present for that White House event, but the White House event was signing the Halt Fentanyl Act into law, and it was a very interesting thing to be a part of an event inside the White House. It was in the West Wing of the White House, and that was pretty peculiar. And one of the coolest things about it, there was there was 7 or 8 of the Texas Picture storytellers on stage behind the president while he signed the bill. And there were more storytellers who were in the audience with me. It was just that was way cool, and it was a bipartisan bill. So it's not like we were demonstrating any kind of support for any party. It's a bipartisan bill. And I was there, and my wife was there, and one of our editors was there. And the reason we were there were to support the storytellers. So I feel like I need to explain that for some reason. I should have been there with you. I'm so glad you and Sherry made it there the same day I flew up to Maryland. Go figure. Yeah, we had been to Maryland a few times. So yeah, it was really weird. I should be able to show a picture. I don't know if I can do that. I should be able to. I know how to do that. Yeah, I do. I think I do. Well, I had a problem with Microsoft OneDrive. Completely ridiculous that I inadvertently allowed it to install on my system, and now things are in the wrong place. It moved a ton of stuff, and it moved the pictures folder, and so it's infuriating, really is. So, all right, so let's see if we can do this. We posted a picture in our group And on the community section, now let me see if I can do this. There we go. All right. So maybe we can do this. Here we are. So there's a picture of the event, and we've identified the storytellers that were standing behind the president during his brief speech and when he signed the document. So that was an interesting experience to be there. April, William Glenn, make that work with your help, of course. What state are you in? The honor to tell your story. Yeah, we here's the thing about stories is we don't turn anyone away. We have never turned anyone away who wants to share a story. Everybody grows when people share their story. So there's a link on our website that explains how the process works to share a story. And you can visit the website. You can also email us to try to make something happen. Let me see. What about pot and fentanyl? Who both studying? Okay. Should have been okay. I'm just trying to catch up with all the comments here, and hopefully I can show you guys the sneak preview of what the doctor had to say in just a few minutes. Glenn can make that work with your help, of course. What state are you in? Love that, Kimberly. I can help you find people in Memphis also. Yeah, we're totally glad. Totally cool to come to Memphis. That'd be Memphis is a new one, I believe. But we shot in maybe Nashville. I don't know. I don't think we've been to Memphis. Anyway, okay, Kimberly, I can help you find people in Memphis. We're totally game for doing that or doing it anywhere. You guys, most of you guys, I believe you've seen the map showing the different places where we've shot stories. And we are the map is getting outdated, but I can let you see it. Let's see, that ought to no. I almost did it wrong again. Yeah, there we are. Okay, there's the map. These are the places that we shot stories at. Missing from this is a star in Denver, Colorado, 3 stars along the northern part of Florida, and Wichita, Kansas needs a star. And other than that, it's pretty much up to date. But those are the places where we have traveled to shoot stories about fentanyl. So in all of those locations, all of the storytelling events began with someone local who wanted us to who wanted to share their story. And from that, they found us a location to shoot the interviews and some of the storytellers. And then we announce it on our channel, and we announce it on our Facebook page and in our Facebook group, and people start signing up. And that's how it happens. April sees her star. How about that? I'm going to work on it. All right. I know people in Nashville too. I'll send you the info. Glenn came here, and he will hopefully be back in August. Yeah, that's the talk. But you're in Brevard, and there's talk of coming to Pensacola again too. Florida, there's a lot of interest in Florida. So I'm gonna let you guys see this sneak preview, okay? And while the preview plays, I'm gonna go get more coffee. So this what you're gonna see is excerpts from an interview with a with an MD, a family. He has a family practice, certified family. He's a doctor, and a very sharp guy. So, if you would just give me a moment to get everything working, we will see this story.
It's a myth that that prisons are full of people who are incarcerated because they got caught using marijuana. That's not true at all. But there are many people in prison today because of the crimes, often violent crimes, they committed under the influence of THC. California did a study on their inmate population and showed that 90% of the inmates in the California prison system had been marijuana users in the prior 12 months before their arrest. The comparable figure for the general population is more like 20%. So it's a very strong risk factor for criminal behavior, and particularly violent behavior in young men. And so that's part of the untold story of the marijuana epidemic. We are seeing the results of increased marijuana use every time we turn on the local or national news. It's just not being reported as such. But these incidents that are otherwise inexplicable often have, at least as a contributing factor, cannabis use disorder or cannabis-induced psychosis. Users obviously are going to be very reluctant to acknowledge that they have a problem. But really, non-users also have a denial problem. The marijuana industry has been very strategic in how they have promoted their product. Every time you hear about it on the news media, if you hear the term marijuana, invariably it's going to be connected with either the term medicinal or recreational, both of which have very positive connotations. So the news media has been complicit in this gaslighting of the American public. Legalization is a mistake. 24 or 25 states have consecutively proven that now. But that's not the greatest tragedy, even though it leads to increased use. The greater tragedy is our failure in the media and to some extent the medical profession to not speak clearly and loudly enough about the harms of this product. Fortunately, the polls are showing a change in sentiment. Pro-marijuana sentiment has declined 10% in just the last 2 years. Now, a majority of Americans now recognize marijuana is harmful to society and individual users. So they're seeing, particularly I think in the marijuana legal states, they're seeing with their own eyes what they didn't believe or didn't hear from the doctors. A lot of the misconceptions are rooted in knowledge of a product that no longer exists. The Woodstock weed is not on the market. What is on the market today is a very, very different product in terms of potency and in terms of risk of addiction, mental health injuries. Now we know physical injuries as well. THC, we now know, is causing vascular disease, heart attacks, and strokes in older users, regardless of whether they smoke the THC or use it as an edible. So this is something that was not even true for tobacco. So marijuana does all the negative things that tobacco did, plus causes the mental health injury, plus the THC is directly harmful to your major blood vessels, predisposing you for heart attacks or strokes, which that was not true of nicotine. So there's a lot of misconceptions out there. I think a lot of it is based on the fact that we tend to judge cause and effects in a very short-term window. It's called proximate cause bias. We look at what happens immediately after an event occurs, and we try to connect those two. And so the reputation of marijuana is that it helps you chill, or it gets you high, or it helps you sleep, or it helps chemotherapy patients deal with nausea. And there's some truth to all of these things, but only in the short term. Because in the long term, what we see is depression and psychosis and suicidal ideation and addiction and cannabis hyperemesis syndrome and chronic dependence on THC, which leads to chronic insomnia, which feeds back into the dependence of it. So the long-term effects are much more powerful and much more negative, but we tend to overlook those, looking only at the short-term effects of use.
All right, folks. What'd you think? Brad, you're killing me. Really, yes, we have, we do have coffee cups and t-shirts and hoodies and sweatshirts. They're all in the store, that's on the homepage on our website. I don't believe it's connected to our channel anymore for some reason, but it's still on our website, and we are working on changing stores. So what you guys think of this doctor and what he had to say? Any feedback? I found him to be pretty interesting. Oh yeah. Glad to see you here, Brad. Appreciate you joining us. That is way cool. So, we talked about some of the reactions of cannabis defenders, and I really thought there would be some of that reaction here, maybe, to what that doctor had to say. Nothing? It will be. It will be. The doctor's interview is not available yet. We may go ahead and post it. I don't know, because it's not really finished. He had a lot to say. He has a son who is incarcerated and has been dealing with cannabis use disorder. Gee, Brad, the trip to the White House was a trip. It was a little bit surreal. And it was interesting for sure, because you get to see a little bit behind the curtain. You get to see some of the organizational things that are going on. And that is that's a way cool thing. And so that's hmm. Sorry, it looks like we have something off here. That's Glenn, can you tell Sherry to send me some of the pics she took? I'm doing a news interview tomorrow on the local station, and they asked if I had more pictures. Yeah, she took quite a few. I would think that the news station has access to the White House video and pictures, but the behind the scenes stuff, yeah, there's Sherry's got some, and I believe I do as well. So we can work on that. I'll ask her to. Where's Brenda? Is Brenda here? Brenda? Maybe not. So how about some other feedback about topics? We're going to have a story coming out very soon about domestic violence. It's going to be a two-part story. And it is it's terrible. And the storyteller is so wonderfully open, honest, just unloads about her experience. We did see Carla. We saw Carla at the White House. We saw her before the White House at lunch at a place called the Hamilton. And then when we were headed home, we saw Carla in the airport. And so she joined us for a while. Yeah, I'm sure Brenda's doing okay. Maybe she's just doing something that's more fun than watching me. Could be. So, but my main goal about being here tonight was to just connect with you guys since I've been on the road and kind of unavailable for I don't know, the last 4 or 5 days. So it's been a kind of a crazy time. We spent the last 2 days shooting cannabis stories here in Houston, including the doctor that I just shared with you guys. And where am I over here? And so by doing that, with all that going on, having time to go live was certainly a challenge. But we should be getting back onto a more regular schedule where we're publishing stories every other day, like we were. Nicole has been MIA for a while, and Brenda has talked to her, and Deidre has as well. And they say that Nux just has a lot going on right now and hasn't been able to join us. So that's cool. So one of my questions for you guys is, what about having this kind of a live event on a more predictable schedule instead of just kind of whenever I get a wild hair? That if we could start doing this like every Sunday evening or maybe every Tuesday evening or something like that, where everyone who wants to participate can count on it happening at a specific time on a specific day. What do y'all think? Is that a good thing? Does it not matter? Looking for feedback. What is up with pot and fentanyl? I'm not sure what you're asking me. There is some evidence out there now that there had been cases with with marijuana that is laced with fentanyl. What the doctor said, I believe it's going to end up being correct. I think that we are sort of behind about all of what he said as it all comes to fruition. Kimberly says, sounds good. Does that mean like a regular Sunday Night Live thing at the same time every week? I'm good with whatever, but I did comment above about the doctor's conversation. April, what'd you say? Viola. Oh, glad you're here. Sorry, I think. April, what did you say? What did you say? I'm scrolling back, April. I did. But most do not. I've seen people get violent on weed, but most do not. That's correct. That's correct. The doctor says something like that too, I believe. And the thing that's striking me, I don't really, I don't have a burning opinion toward cannabis. That the big benefit I see in it being legal is that the people who make idiotic arguments about why it needs to be legal will finally shut up. And that's not even a small thing. That is big. That they're just aching to find a chance to argue. And so if it's legal, we won't have to deal with them arguing. That seems like a plus to me. Thanks, Bert. And Kimberly, yeah, we can. I think Sunday is probably an ideal time. It is for us. That typically we're at Texas Pictures World Headquarters on Sunday evenings, and so we can make the live a regular thing, like Sunday evening at 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. We started this one at 7:30. We've been doing this for a little over an hour now, and so we can do it at 7:30 or 7 p.m. If you guys have a preference for one or the other, we can kind of talk about it. That the idea behind 7:30 was it gave us a little bit more time to wrap up dinner, but typically it's my key takeaway from what the doctor said was that the Woodstock weed no longer exists. Yeah, the Woodstock environment doesn't really exist anymore either. Back then, which was before my time, back then, cannabis was a social thing where people get together and use and share. So they're not even having a whole joint; they're sharing it, and it's social. And that doesn't seem like the case a lot of times anymore. Now you hear more and more stories about people doing gummies while they're locked away in their room playing video games. It's different. Kimberly, I remember Woodstock in the 80s. There was like a Woodstock 2, but Woodstock happened in 1969, I think. Fentanyl in vapes sounds really scary. Yeah. Yeah, it does. The potency of fentanyl uh, or THC, either one in vapes is scary. Certainly more so for fentanyl because it is lethal. But in vapes, that is anything in vapes is scary. It's fentanyl in water bottles and concerts. God, that's really scary. People don't know what social is. Yeah, I think you're probably right. They think of social media, and that's nope. That's not how social used to work, and that's not how it works for many people now. That we have a social thing. We have a social thing right here, right now. But aside from that, there are social things still going on out there. There is church, whatever denomination, whatever faith, whatever church is a social thing. And there's also all kinds of sporting. Bowling is a social thing. Uh, Golf or pickleball or any of that stuff. That's all. That's all social stuff. Bingo. That's kind of social too. That's an older crowd typically. Anyway, that was at Burning Man concert in Colorado. They shut it down, and that was recently. Wow, that's really scary. Fentanyl in water bottles because nobody would give any thought to. You would just assume that a water bottle's safe. The thing that struck me about what the doctor said about cannabis is about the long-term consequences. Those consequences that don't present in immediately after use or after a couple of months of use. There's these consequences that come along years later. These consequences that have effects on your cardiovascular system, consequences that can cause a stroke, things like that. A 16-year-old OD'd at Cocoa Beach High using a vape pen he thought was THC but had fentanyl in it. Wow, that's scary. Why do people have to get high on pot all the time? Well, the doctor talked about the addictive properties, the habit forming properties of cannabis. April says, thank goodness for naloxone. It fortunately saved these three people you're speaking of. Well, that's wonderful. Look, I got it right here. Naloxone. April, this may be one of the boxes that I got when I was shooting in your area. I think it could be. Thank goodness for naloxone. Fortunately, saved it. Yeah, very good. All right, folks. So I think it is about time to wrap it up for this evening. We will start. We'll do something to make this a predictable Sunday evening thing at either 7 o'clock or 7:30 Central Time, or maybe we could do earlier if you guys would like. April says, Kimberly, some people use it for pain like me. I use creams and oils, and I have a medical card. Yes, it is. I don't know what yes, it is too. Viola says obtaining data from the prison and jail population is going to be key. Right. The doctor mentioned that in the clip that I shared, right? I believe he did. I know he mentioned it in the interview, but I don't remember whether for sure I included it in the clip that I shared with you guys just, a little while ago. That the prison population and the suicide data. There's a reference to suicide data. Early, please, Kimberly says. Yeah, early is relative. It is here right now. It's 8:45. That's not terribly late, but depending on where you're at, it could be close to 10 o'clock if you're on the East Coast, and so it's a little bit later. I think that 7 or 7:30 is probably going to be it. He did. He mentioned the prison data, and he also talked about the suicide. In the interview, he also mentioned that cannabis isn't reported when it really should be as a possible contributing factor to a major crime event. And the example that he used was the shooter in Uvalde, Texas, who shot up a school and killed a bunch of children. No, I don't play bingo. That the shooter, before he went to the school, he shot his grandmother in the face. He killed her. He was living with her, and according to a witness quoted by the New York Times, according to the witness, he was angry at his grandmother because she wouldn't let him smoke weed in her house. And it was an ongoing thing. And so it was posted in the New York Times in the story, in the online version, and then removed. And it wasn't posted, it wasn't published in the print version. Because that doesn't suit a gun control message. Maybe that's why. Don't know. But anyway, let's do this early Sunday, says Kimberly. All right. Atio Princip. Okay. Principal. Thank you. Thank you very much for your comment. That I feel like that's the first comment you've made tonight. And gosh, I appreciate that very much. But we're just about to wrap it up here. And so, but we will probably 7 o'clock Central Time, which would be 8 o'clock East Coast time. That'd be, like Florida and Virginia and Maryland and all that area. Would be, how old was he, the grandson? I don't know. I don't know how old the shooter in the Uvalde school shooting. I don't know how old he was. But I thought it was really interesting that there was evidence that he had cannabis in his system, and then no one talked about it. Instead, everybody focused on the gun argument. Anyway, So we will make that a thing, and then we'll still do the live events after a premiere every now and then, and but having a time that wow, a time that you can count on, that you know will be live. It seems like that could be a good thing. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. It is always a pleasure to deal with you guys. We haven't had as big of a crowd this time. Maybe it's because we didn't have a premiere. Maybe it's because some of the cannabis defenders are angry at us. My ex used to get high on weed and beat me, so I know it's true. Okay, April, I'm sorry. That's terrible. But yeah, it is. It's that thing that the doctor talked about: short-term rewards, long-term harm. That it may help. Like with sleeping, it people say that it helps them sleep. People say it helps them sleep, but over time it goes from helping them sleep to leading to insomnia, leading to a point where it becomes almost mandatory to get any sleep, that you have to use it. Well, I'm glad you got away too. All right, folks. So anyway, so we are going to wrap it up for tonight. And, I always like to remind you guys, busy old lady, Viola. Okay. When I was in middle school, there was a cheerleader named Viola. Yeah, that's enough about that. So let's plan 7:00 Sunday, 7:00 Central Time. Right now it is 8:51 Central Time. So do the math. 7 p.m. Central Time next Sunday, we'll do this again. And there'll probably be another live event or two over the next week as we publish stories about fentanyl, cannabis, and domestic violence. So I want to thank you all for joining us. Looking forward to sharing that doctor's interview. Maybe we should just publish that. Thank you, Viola. All right, so at the end of all of these, I always like to remind everyone that you can email us anytime at info@texas-pictures.com. You can find us on Facebook under my name, Glenn Muse, or under the company name Texas Pictures. Me and Texas Pictures both have pages on Facebook. We're on TikTok, and there is our website, texas-pictures.com. And on our website, you will find how to share your story, how to get Texas Pictures merchandise if you have an interest in that, and you can learn other things about us. So I wanted to tell you all how grateful I am for you, and thank you, and you guys have yourselves a good night, and we will be seeing you soon.